Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CX Live Dialogues. I'm delighted to have with us today Malcolm Coe, Head of ASEAN and North Asia at DevRev. A familiar face in the APAC CX scene, Malcolm has spent 30 years at the intersection of people, technology, and experience, helping some of the world's largest organizations transform how they serve their customers. Welcome, Malcolm. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely introduction. I always get a little bit shy when I hear those, but I appreciate it nonetheless. I'm so happy to be here and excited for CX Live. I've been working with the team and we're very excited to see you guys very soon in person.
Indeed. And in this session, Malcolm, we're going to go through some of the tricky issues that the industry is facing. To start with, for the last 2 years, the industry told CX leaders the answer was more AI, more chatbots, more co-pilots, more automation. You're saying the problem was never how much AI we had, but that AI forgets everything. What do you mean by forgetful AI? And why is it holding CX back?
So I think the CX world, let's take a little bit of context. The technology that evolved in support. We did things like chat to make things more efficient than the voice channel. You had sort of the build up with knowledge base to help share information in context and sort of hard code answers. I think at the end of the day, as we enter this new revolution with AI, memory becomes more important because AI has the capability to a lot of things. So why memory makes it better and what we're talking about is really about efficiency. And we think we're a little bit ahead of the curve because I think right now people are using AI to do a lot of things and the models actually are sufficient and work. But what isn't efficient is if you take the example, I like to say if you forget something, like I placed something somewhere, you have that frustration of looking around and then after you find it, you're like, oh, it was right here in front of me, right? It's a little bit like that if you think of the analogy. If you knew where it was in the first place, you would have been more efficient and then you would have achieved what you needed to get. And that memory in itself, as the analogy is what I'm trying to say, it's more precise, it's faster, it's just more efficient. So the language models, if they have to reset each time, if you think about it, it means that they start from zero and then have to go over the same processes over and over again to get the similar answers. Whereas in contextually, if you're running a support app, you would have had that before. It's a bit like the knowledge base is already there, but it's searching everywhere for the same thing. So at the end of the day, this sort of memory helps to make the process more efficient because at the end of the day, it knows where to find things. It knows the relationship of things. So for example, if you had a transaction, sometimes you can do the simple, but then what if it's got the relationship of the customer, like their order history? It will pull all this information and then put the context together to make it faster and better. So that's where kind of memory helps to sort of create this sort of probabilistic model. Because I think the other thing we're not used to where memory can make it efficient is that the deterministic model is how support always worked, meaning that the answer you want a lot of the time is that consistent same answer. But I think nowadays people are expecting more with AI, but that's also a little bit of a design shift, I think, that, and this is where memory really helps to make that happen.
Indeed. Now, Malaysia has some of the fastest AI adoption in APAC, but 73% of businesses are stuck in the basic usage. What's the unlock that gets you from pilot to actual business outcomes?
So nothing new here. I think I've been in CX a long time. We've always talked about data and cleanliness of data. Data is all in one place, all these data things that we take for granted. And again, I said earlier, the models in themselves or the LLMs, they work. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the AI. The problem lies in where the data it pulls from and what kind of systems. And if you look at support, you're probably toggling on an average 15 to up to 20 systems, some more, some less, but that's about the average. So you can imagine you have a CRM, you have a ticketing system, you have a knowledge base, you have an analytics, you have things like collaboration, like Slack and Teams, etc. And AI is trained sort of to take the information, but these tend to be fragmented parts of data. In other words, they're not all in one repository for the model to easily pull from. And again, so what happens with our AI and computer and sort of takes that structured and unstructured data and takes it as well as the memory, which we have within knowledge graph. When AI has the full context, it enables you to sort of create the resolution as efficiently as possible. And I think that's something we tend to take for granted, that we just think we flick a switch and then it pulls in. The marketing tends to give us that impression, but actually that's not the case, especially at enterprise level. Then you can enter the precision plus the safety of it. A lot of people we talk about now are using shadow AI, meaning they plug in the company information into large language models that are not necessary. I won't say they're insecure, but they are releasing company data out into the world to get that efficiency. Now, whether the value of the outcome kind of justifies it, it's not for me to say, but data security might have an issue with that. So at the end of the day, having it in-house, having your own enterprise system like our computer will enable that sort of unified memory, good, precise data. It will not have to reset all the time. So you have precision over volume, basically. And the real outcomes we see with customers are 40% ticket resolution that's faster, better customer retention, about 25%. And even in specific use cases, they can go up to 75%. And to simplify, an example of how that's happening is it's knowing where to get the data, remembering the data, and not having to reset every time it looks at a new transaction. So it's secure, it's precise, and then it's pulling both the unstructured and structured data, learns the relationship and context. So again, I think I mentioned in the previous example, it may be able to say, oh, we need a refund, but what if the context of the refund is only a certain type of customer, i.e. your high value customer that has an LTV of, I don't know, 10 transactions in the last month versus the 2 transactions. So imagine a world where that memory of the customer, or sorry, that memory of the system is able to do a lot of the work that a manual agent would do, right? He would toggle a system, look into the system and say, oh, the CRM is telling me this is a high value customer. I can take a call in terms of the refund. Maybe this one deserves this. Nowadays with the AI and having that context of the structured, it can do that. And exception handling especially, right? So if you think about that, maybe they had a collaboration chat where this one deserves something more special because they said, oh, we messed up and had a bad situation 3 weeks ago and it's a repeat query. A lot of that doesn't happen. The customer has to tell you, right? They'll tell you, oh, I had a bad experience. But what if the system and the agent could see all this proactively? Is really what kind of memory, knowledge graph, and the AI capabilities within your in-house system can do. And I like to think of this also because the next question, I think I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's the replacement of humans maybe. I don't think that's going to happen. I think service is going to get better because quite frankly, it still sucks. That's what, when I go around tables, people tell me, okay, you have all this tech, why does service still suck? So my optimism is when this kind of context can start to be rolled out in the technology, it means the humans will do the difficult stuff, like more personal touches for this type of customer segment, more hand-holding when they feel more stressed to lower the stress, like financial transactions, for example, tend to make people less patient and more stressed. What if the AI is doing the simpler stuff, and then you can high touch these elements of, say, financial transactions, whatever they are, or specialize to the highest segment to give real white glove service. I actually see a world where the support team escalates to this, while the AI helps to alleviate a lot of the, I call them simpler tickets.
Now, there's enormous pressure to deploy AI fast. 75% of Malaysian IT leaders report feeling pushed to approve risky implementations. With the AI governance bill arriving this year, how do you move fast without breaking trust?
So I think having safety in mind from the get-go in the beginning, and I think it's a question of design and structure. So I think if you're compliant by default first, and you're on the right system, like we have permissions, audit trail, and records built in, building trust with customers is paramount. So at the end of the day, having these guardrails and starting on the outset, as in thinking about them in advance and designing them and being ahead of the curve is how we approach this. So having a built-in permission layer like we have, AI only accesses and authorizes who and what can see. I think, again, like you mentioned, the PDPA amendments are in place. The AI governance bill is tabled to be out this year. So organizations can build on the architectures of governance that are already there, and they can be proactive about them. So, and I think there is a benefit that we don't talk about because a lot of consumers want to trust sort of the AI. And I think this is something we also sometimes take for granted. So we have to be a bit proactive about ticking this box. And I also think the curve is not evenly distributed. I was at a event recently and a pharma company questioned me very heavily on risk and government. So some industries have it already baked in because of the nature of their industry. So I think you can also learn from collaborating with others and ones that are more so obviously pharma. I think financial industries tend to be more relatively more strict or have more guidelines around that, and it is more pound. So it's not like it's free for all already. I think there is a lot of governance out there. It is moving very quickly, but I think trying to design it and bake it in from the design at the get-go and being compliant first will have its benefits, and you should take that approach when looking at your AI and your AI governance.
Certainly. Now let's get a bit specific. When you say AI should take action, not just answer, what does that actually look like in a contact center on a Monday morning?
Okay, sorry, I guess I got ahead. I sort of answered this a little bit, and that's my bad. I think because I really feel like service will evolve or revolve and become better, and humans will still exist because there's still outliers. There's areas where personal touch is. Segmentation isn't where it should be in terms of customer expectations. And just to digress a bit, satisfaction metrics, or this famous CSAT, has never really measured customer expectation. So if you think about this gap between expectation and customer satisfaction, that still exists. And meaning that the expectation of customers, if you have a 5-point star, doesn't necessarily mean they're happy. So I think with AI, this will enable us to bring reality closer to customer expectation. Now, back to sort of this question, how it transposes every day, is exactly that. I gave the example of sort of what we call our search answer action framework. And in previous CX, it's kind of more hard-coded. I talked about the evolution to make things more efficient. And that's the thing. Contact centers and support centers and CX has generally been about efficiency. And all the numbers are measured, which means they're literally squeezing efficiency, not talking about satisfaction. So now how that layers in is a lot of sort of the root cause of things has been hard-coded in making channels more efficient. So voice to chat, you can have 3 or 5 or 6 chats instead of one call. You try to get knowledge base, you start to get semi-automation, but all these things are to make it more efficient. Now, they're still hard-coded in terms of an agent has to toggle the system, look for an article, type back an article. Our angle now with AI is that the efficiency will come because if you design the process and spend the time on it, you can do it in one go, meaning that everything, like I mentioned in the last example, imagine instead of having to look for the article will automatically pull. The customer relationship will already be there, and any collaboration and history where there was a complaint will automatically, you just have to click approve, meaning that instead of looking for all these things, the answer will pop up in front of you and say, okay, this is a high value segment A customer. He or she had an issue 2 weeks ago. We recommend that you give him the full refund. And this is the context we have. And we also propose, this is the thing, this is the address, this is the thing. You just have to verify, so they'll scan the information, and it's a click of a button. In the past, it would require an agent to toggle some things. They could be quite fast. They could type. It might auto-populate a ticket, but you'd still have to do a bit of thought process, take some time, pull together the thing, maybe even seek approval. Whereas now with the AI capability and having again that sort of memory and knowledge graph of the information, the relationships in the information, the context ready, you're enabling this sort of one-touch solution, I guess, which if you think about it, creates great efficiency. I mean, we talk about average handling time when we talk about customer support, and to be fair, we've always used that as a metric to see how we say, but now you just have to press the button. So it means the design metrics in which we have in support are also going to have to change over time. So I think that's one of the areas of efficiency that will come. The second side of this, which is looking a little bit down the road, is token efficiency. I think what I meant by that is that memory aspect again. If the AI resets every time, you're churning a lot more tokens to be able to do the similar work and similar tickets because it's looking, the language model, the AI is looking abroad for it. To be efficient, if the memory already has a similar transaction, i.e. refunds are quite common, or you take your top 5 or your top 5 queries, then those queries would end up having better and better efficiency in terms of their token usage because it doesn't have to reset all the time. So I think it's exciting times, basically. We're going to move forward in a very fast way, but I think those that adopt will really see a lot of benefits from proactive use of AI and efficient use of AI. And I think this solution that we have, Computer, is really about that. So it's not necessarily about faster typing or faster toggle on screens. It's actually using the AI in one touch, possibly, maybe 2 touches, like an approval or a secondary check, because sometimes the AI, someone will want to scan it, and then we call human in the loop. But it's going to reduce the number of clicks, so to speak, and increase the amount of efficiency and lower the handling time. So it's exciting. And then humans will be able to do sort of the more escalated, complex tasks that would require better white glove service, as we say.
Certainly. Now, if a head of CX or head of support in this audience wanted to start this shift tomorrow, not in 18 months, but tomorrow, what's the first move you'd recommend?
I think it's really hard. I mean, designing it. And I think taking the time to design it, because when you're an operations person, you're always firefighting. You're used to that. Your agents are used to the tooling that they have. And I think we take for granted sort of, at least customers I see, we've implemented the change management process. Now, in context of that, what I mean then, for your first step, maybe it just takes sitting down with a room with your people saying, how would we design our AI? What would be the tough points that we need to sort of pay attention to for our staff? Because switching sort of this workflow, while I kind of simplified it, going from the efficiency to one click, there's an assumption in that I just trust the one click, right? But if I'm an agent, and I have been actually, I started my career as one, I'm still used to the old type and put in the system, check the toggle. I want to take a human decision. So I feel like these potential friction points are something we take for granted. So I think designing and thinking about the human side and the friction points that could happen of the transition is a good start in terms of embracing AI. Second, I guess, or even a close first, is of course the data or the systems in which take the data from, how fragmented or how not fragmented, how many systems, what's connected, what's not, what's scattered, what can be pulled. I think that's another thing that we sort of take for granted, that our AI, we just turn it on and then we can type in and ask it anything. That's maybe where the world will go, but not today, because it's what we're used to. So I think designing the process, ensuring the data is, and I use the word, as simple as possible. So that's sort of thinking about where the information is, how it's going to pull the information, because those will also build trust into the accuracy of the reply, right? I think also you can test smaller, as in to build trust for your agents in the change management process and the design. Don't release it to everyone. Maybe A/B test it with smaller groups so that when you show your teams the results, they also trust it. Because I think we take for granted that, again, I feel like AI is a magic bullet to some extent, but a lot of the customers we see in terms of implementation and people that I meet, they're still sort of in the infancy. We're all kind of growing up together. So I think baby steps, design, data, and sort of testing smaller is sort of where I would sort of say how you take your first steps. So yeah, I think, and then keeping the human in the loop a little bit so that trust factor, that transition and evolution, and how we complement AI is kind of your teammate, or I call it best friend in my recent article I wrote, because I really feel that it can be. But, friendships and relationships need to be built. So you can't just say, okay, you're my best friend and you're going to help me. I think this evolution is where we come from. So back again, design, data, and testing, so that you build the trust factor so that people will use it and see the benefits of it.
Certainly. Thank you, Malcolm. It's been a pleasure to have you join us today. And we look forward to meeting you at the Customer Experience Live show in Malaysia very shortly. Until then, stay safe.
Thank you so much. I'll see everybody in Malaysia and looking forward to it. We're at booth 4, I'm told. So come and see us too.
Indeed. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Malcolm. Take care.